All right. Today I'm going to start with something a little bit different. Um, I haven't done a stream for quite some time, so what I thought I was going to do, what I thought I would do, is I would do a stream, um, record that, and then make that into my regular video. But today, what I wanted to cover, and I'll kind of show you like so a while back we had the same kind of situation happen, but the significance of it was nowhere near what we actually have now. Um, Unfortunately, and this is unfortunate for the studio heads that are running the industries that usually didn't have to kowtow to anything that the strikers actually wanted to do because they just had too much power. Well, right now we're running into a weird situation where we have the actors and the writers who happen to be the same people. Whereas before there was a little bit of crossover in the past when the last strike took place, but now it's heavily tied to a lot of writers are actors and a lot of actors are writers. So it's gotten to the point where when they strike now, it's going to be quite significant. So first thing I wanted to cover was the reason why a couple of these groups are actually striking. The writers and the actors have different reasons for striking, but like I said, a lot of them are the exact same people, so their reasons cross over. So let's talk about a couple of the reasons why they actually are striking and which is most significant. Well, for one, let's talk about the actors themselves. The actors went on strike after the writers, but they still had a significant reason for why they actually wanted to do it. And this is something that has more to do with technology today than it used to be back in the past. And as you see from the article that I have up here, states AI tech could make Hollywood extras obsolete. And this is a problem, but I'm going to cover a little more on this to where I think this is even more significant than people actually realize. For one, AI tech, this is the kind of thing where an extra who used to be in the background, where you would have, sometimes they would have to pay for hundreds to thousands of extras to make a scene, like, you know, if you're talking like the Rome Colosseum or something to that effect. And so in doing that, you had to put in a lot of people. And so what they discovered, and I think this was pretty much around the time of Lord of the Rings, when Peter Jackson put together a lot of the background for this, is they started to put AI tech into the actual audience to where you'd have people in the huge amounts of armies and stuff like that, to where individuals could start moving and start doing their own thing. We didn't have really a whole lot of AI tech at that time, but we did have a kind of like the ability to like move an individual character, a couple of characters, kind of get stuff like that going. Now you have it so like the entire audience could have all of its own motions based on AI tech. And for actors, especially for extras, this is a huge thing, because if this happens, they're going to lose a lot of their jobs. The other thing is, and this is something that isn't covered too much, and I'm kind of interested in why this hasn't been covered too much, but a lot of the actors I know are fearing the idea that this AI tech could actually replace them. And I'm looking at well, there's a couple of movies that were made a little while ago that basically kind of came out and gave the idea of how this could actually work. And so we kind of saw it, I'd say, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, but we didn't have the technology to make it work. Well, now we do, or at least we're getting that. With the Chat GBT is going to make so many different things happen. And what they're trying to do right now with this strike is to make sure that the studio heads understand that if they do this, this is a problem, and they're going to lose a lot of the actors. And so the actors are kind of fighting back now while they still have, some semblance of power or some semblance of a voice in order to make a difference. And if they don't do it now, they're going to lose the opportunity, and AI tech is pretty much going to take over them for kind of going forward. The other thing I wanted to talk about, that was that one. Let's talk about the Writers Guild strike. This is something that this is something that concerns me a little more probably than the actors strike, as I'm never going to be an actor. At least I believe that. But I am a writer, and so I don't write for Hollywood or movies or any of that, but one day I might, and because my novels will eventually get transplanted into that, I'm very concerned about that as well, because the whole idea that the writers are scared about, writers are losing a lot of their jobs when an actual when the Writers Guild sort of thing is kind of going on. With the Writers Guild, it's supposed to protect them from studios basically just firing all these writers after they've actually done their job and then going into production, which means these writers don't have any jobs, don't have any insurance, don't have any of that kind of stuff. So what they're trying to do right now, the first part of this, is to make sure that they're covered during the time when they're not writing, because what their original proposal was is that the writers would be kept on rather than dismissed during that lull time as the productions actually start getting made, and then they would have to, if that didn't happen, then they have to pretty much beg for their jobs back when the second season comes out, if there is a second season. So that's the one prong in their in the fight that's going on with the Writers Guild. The second one, and this is one that's it's been discussed, but it's not the big issue yet, but it's definitely rearing its head to be very important, and they're trying to take care of it now while they finally have a chance to, before they have to wait another 20 years and try to do it again, after the cat's out of the bag and basically everything's all over the place and they have no chance of getting their business back. And so the second thing that they're actually worried about is AI actually writing scripts for them, which means not for them because they won't have jobs, but basically instead of them. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to convince the studio heads and Basic Studios and Netflix and some of these other organizations that are really holding back against them, that they really need to make sure that AI is only used for research or those types of purposes, rather than being used for actually writing the scripts themselves. Because if they don't catch this bag, it's going to be way too late. Now, keep in mind, the scripts that ChatGPT has actually written so far have been really bad. The AI is not designed so far to understand the nuances of fiction and to fill in the different things that they need to in the right way. But it's getting better, and the better it gets, the better a chance it has of replacing a lot of writers. And so a lot of writers want to make sure this doesn't happen, that humans are writing and not just machines. Because if machines keep writing, pretty soon they'll be out of jobs, and the next thing you know it, everybody's going to be out of jobs. So that's kind of my take on kind of what's going on. I just thought I would share it with you, kind of give you an idea of something I find to be really important. I plan to be doing more and more of these kinds of videos going on forward. Just to kind of give an idea, not just about the writer strikes, but about, or the writers and the actor strikes, but no, more about the news in general, because I cover politics. My degree is in politics. So what I would like to do is cover a lot more of these types of situations, usually one at a time, rather than try to do like the whole news like some other podcasters do. But anyway, that's all I have for today. So these will get a lot better going forward, but this is where I am. Have a good one.